I'm tired and I want to go to bed. I relate to that more and more on a daily basis. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode of Home Media Reviews. This review is on Jaws. You know, the big shark movie. Yeah, that one. And I said this last week that Jaws was Steven Spielberg's directorial debut. I got that wrong. Steven Spielberg actually directed a few television productions before Jaws. This was his first feature film, I guess you could say, but I said directorial debut. He actually directed the TV movie Duel, I think is what it is. It's not Dune, it's Duel, I think is what it is. But anyway, never mind the fact that I got that wrong. I get things wrong all the time. Let's move into the history section of Jaws, where I will more than likely get something wrong. So Jaws swam its way into theaters, I apologize for the pun, on January 20th, 1975. I wasn't even, conceived then. I wasn't even a thought then. I mean, this thing's old as dirt. And I can say that because I'm a young millennial. Even though I hate every millennial who's not me. Jaws was then released on VHS in 1980. 5 years after it hit theaters. I mentioned in RoboCop that films took a lot longer to reach home media back then. So, yeah, Jaws took 5 years. Same amount of time, actually, as Star Wars A New Hope took to hit home media. 5 years. There was also a 20th Anniversary Commemorative Vhs released in 1995 to, what else, celebrate the 20th anniversary of Jaws. The VHS was not the first home format you could get Jaws on. It was actually released on Laserdisc, a precursor to DVD, in 1978. So, about 3 years after it hit theaters, but 2 years prior to VHS. So if you were a Laserdisc owner, you could get Jaws before those crappy little VHS people. Laserdisc also got a reprint in 1992 and in 1995. The 95 one, I'm assuming, is a 20th anniversary one to commemorate the 20th anniversary of Jaws, of course. So after VHS and Laserdisc, after those formats were killed, well, not really VHS when the DVD first gets released of Jaws, but Laserdisc was long dead at that point. The first release of Jaws on DVD came in 2000 for the film's 25th anniversary. And this version, it's important to note, had both a full screen and a widescreen release. Back then, in the early 2000s, and in most of the 90s as well, you had different options for how you could watch your films. You could watch them in full screen, which on a 4x3 tube television would take up the full screen. However, you're losing a bit of the picture when you watch it in full screen, or you could watch it in widescreen with those hideous looking black bars, man, geez. But you do get a full image on the screen, except with black bars. I prefer widescreen, of course, because widescreen is now the norm, but back then people preferred full screen for some odd reason. They just hadn't seen a widescreen television yet. There was also a DVD released under the 1970s Decades Collection line from Universal. That has a new slipcover on it, I guess. Was also released in 2000, so Universal was really promoting their films on this new format. Then 5 years later, in 2005, we got another DVD reissue, but this time it was for the 30th anniversary. They really love those anniversary years for this movie. I should also note that this was only in widescreen, the 2005 version, only in widescreen. A full screen counterpart would come 4 years later, in 2009. I do not have a picture for this one. But you can just imagine that the picture right now on screen says full screen instead of widescreen, if it says widescreen at all. But after 2009, man, DVD is old news. We want HD. We want something that's actually good and doesn't look like crap. So that's when we got the Blu-ray release of Jaws. Not in 2009, the Blu-ray of Jaws, as well as a single disc DVD reissue, came in August of 2012. This was a very highly anticipated Blu-ray release. Not as much as Star Wars, though. I think Star Wars was the most requested Blu-ray title when Blu-ray first came out, but I think Jaws was a close second or third. You could also find this under the 1970s Decades Collection. They're bringing that back, and that was a new slipcover. Wow, what a great marketing technique that was. But they couldn't just stop with one Blu-ray, or two Blu-rays, or three Blu-rays in 2012. Or I think there was only two. But this one's the third one, because we got another one in November of 2012, but this was released under the Universal 100 Years Collection. 100 Years of Universal. Then 2 years later, we got an Academy Award version, which I'm assuming is another different slipcover. That was released in 2014. Now, the copy that I have is a bit of an outlier. I'm just looking at it right now to see if there's any, copyright date on it. Because the last copy I have listed in my document where I keep all my history is pretty early on in the history here. I'm not seeing any updated copyright date on this. So I am assuming that the version that I have, which is just Blu-ray and a ultraviolet copy, probably a more later reprint, I'd say probably 2016, maybe 2017 when they re-released this movie. I get all my info from a website called Blu-ray.com, and this version of Jaws was not listed when I searched up Jaws, so I have no idea when my copy is from that I'm holding in my hands right now. Probably from 2016, 2017. There was another version of Jaws released, and it was a Target exclusive. This one had old VHS style packaging, kind of a throwback to those old clamshell VHS cases. I don't think they're as big as an actual VHS. I've seen this in person. It's awesome. I wish I would have bought it, but I didn't because it was stupid. This was released, I'm assuming, sometime late in 2018, maybe early 2019. Also, this version of Jaws was released alongside such classic films as The Breakfast Club and Backdraft, which is a movie about firefighters. I can only assume that because I've only seen the poster and I haven't seen the movie. So, that was the numerous versions of Jaws that you can find on VHS, Laserdisc, DVD, and Blu-ray. Jaws actually had a pretty successful lifespan on all of its formats. Although we have not seen the last of long history sections. Wait until we get to a certain movie about a certain mild-mannered police officer who gets stuck in a tower with German terrorists. By God, there were so many releases of that! But we'll talk about that in due time. That's called foreshadowing. Moving right along now, let's move into the close-up section of Jaws. Alrighty everybody, here's your close-up look at Jaws. Now I know last week with the RoboCop HMR we only looked at one copy, but this time around we're transitioning back to multiple copies. We have two copies to look at of Jaws here. So as you can probably tell, this is just the standard single disc DVD version of Jaws that I picked up at Target when I was a bit younger, and I really didn't really care about buying whatever format. Nowadays I will care about whether or not I buy Blu-ray or DVD. I hardly ever buy this format anymore, but when I was younger I was just really desperate to see the movies that I wanted, so I saw Jaws on DVD and picked it up and didn't look back on the picture quality or anything, sadly. But I gotta say, the poster art, it's not that bad. It's the theatrical poster of Jaws, except without the black outline and the cast list down at the bottom, but it's nice. I like it. It's simple. The side, Universal logo, Jaws, the DVD logo with the product number underneath it, or above it actually. Digitally remastered and fully restored from high-resolution 35mm original film elements. This really should be talking more about the Blu-ray, not the DVD. I mean, I guess you could say it was digitally remastered, but it really wasn't. It was more the Blu-ray that did that, since Jaws, I think, first hit Blu-ray in 2012 or 2011. Whatever I said in the history section, that's when Jaws first hit Blu-ray, but this single disc version was released alongside it, in case you hadn't made the jump to Blu-ray yet. UPC code there. The film that still makes audiences afraid to go in the water. And that's absolutely true. I do not watch this. I don't even bring this with me whenever I go on a beach vacation. I will not watch this on the way to Hilton Head or to Florida or anywhere like that, because I will not go in the water because I'm a big baby. blurb about the film, some beachgoers running out of the water. Your one bonus feature that's on this disc is Spotlight on Location, the making of Jaws. Except it is a documentary, so I'm assuming it's longer than 5 seconds. Some screenshots from the film down there at the bottom, along with tech specs and legalese, cast information, all that good stuff. Open this up, and there's your disc. At least we finally got some artwork. Here it's from the scene where Jaws is hooked by the barrel and is swimming away, and Quint is screaming, "Watch the barrel!" or something along those lines. And then the DVD logo down there at the bottom. So that's the single disc version of Jaws. Now we're going to take a look at the single disc Blu-ray version of Jaws. Same poster art as a single disc DVD version, except now we have the Blu-ray disc logo up there at the top. Blu-ray plus digital HD. Again, same poster and all that. The side, Blu-ray disc logo, Jaws, or Bruce the Shark, as I like to call him, Jaws again. Universal logo with product number underneath. The back, HD picture and theater quality sound, the film that still makes audiences go afraid to go in the water, digitally remastered, fully restored, blah blah. Same stuff we saw on the DVD version, except this time it's true. UPC code, same blurb, I'm assuming, I haven't read them. Not the same screenshots. The only screenshots that are the same are these two, you can see on the DVD. But on the DVD, this screenshot is blown up to take over this entire part. But since Blu-ray cases are shorter than DVDs, they couldn't do that this time around. Plus, you have to make a little room down here for the ultraviolet copy information, because people still don't know what that is, even to this day. Bonus features, we have a list of those there on the back. Sorry, this doesn't look like it's focusing on the camera. It's just because the sun in the background. I filmed this in front of a window so I get as much natural light as possible so you guys can see everything, but my apologies if it looks a little faded. There's cast information, tech specs, all that stuff down at the bottom. Open this up. There's your disc, and we've lost the artwork. Oh well. Just that standard reflective gray look that we saw with a ton of Thomas stuff way back in Thomas and Friends home media reviews, if you guys remember that series. And then there's your digital copy code over there. That's what they used to look like in 2012 when they were old and a new form of consuming media. So that is your close-up. Let's go ahead and transition into our menu tour of Jaws. How'd you guys like that? Cinematic, right? Here for the menu tour of Jaws, the DVD version, and already this picture quality looks like poop. We have play, scenes, bonus, and setup. It's weird doing this on a larger television because I have to get closer to the screen to actually point at the options. But if I'm back here near the camera, I have to, not point at the options. I have to look at the viewfinder and do that. Anyway, play, scenes, bonus, and setup. Scenes. Oh, we actually have some titles for our scenes here. We have 20 options. Let's skip straight to the end. All that good stuff there. Back to the menu. Bonus feature. Just have one, of course. Spotlight on Location, the making of Jaws. How long is this? Let's take a look. Oh, look at that letterbox widescreen. This is 50 minutes. Okay, so about the length of a Game of Thrones episode. Weird. It's actually not that bad for a DVD extra. Setup. We have English 5.1, English 2.0, Spanish and French, both in 5.1. And subtitles, English, Spanish, and French. Nowhere near as many audio or subtitle options as last week with RoboCop. That was insane how many options there were for languages for that. So that, ladies and gentlemen, pretty much wraps up the menu for Jaws on DVD. Let's go ahead and transition into the Blu-ray menu. Alright, and just like that, we're here for the Blu-ray menu of Jaws. Already, this looks 10 times better than the DVD, as per usual, and the placement of the options has changed. It's now on the side, as with most Universal Blu-ray menus. We have Play, Chapter, Setup, Extras, and How To. I guess that's the little option there says, view the user guides to get the most out of your Blu-ray experience. I guess that is supposed to explain how Blu-ray works. Blu-ray was 4 years old at the point that this came out, so I don't know why people wouldn't know about it, because Blu-ray hit... Oh no, Blu-ray was more than 4. It was about 5 or 6, because Blu-ray hit store shelves in 2006. Jaws came out on Blu-ray in 2012, I assume. Yeah, the format was 6 years old by this point. I don't know why you would need a how-to on how to work it, but whatever. Chapters, I'm assuming, are the same as on the DVD. Yes, they are. Nowhere near as many audio options as RoboCop again, but we do have a 7.1 mix for English, as well as a 2.0 mix, and the same mixes as on the DVD for Spanish and French, and the same subtitles as on the DVD as well. Extras. I have a ton of extras on here. We have deleted scenes and outtakes, the making of Jaws, the shark is still working, the impact and legacy of Jaws. I think this is a whole, like, documentary on the history and the impact, the cultural impact of Jaws. We have a ton of chapters for that documentary. I have not watched it. I probably will have watched it by the time this comes out, or by the time that I record the ending bit for this HMR. Jaws the Restoration. From the set, I'm not sure what that's for. Jaws Archives, storyboards, production photos, marketing, and the phenomenon of Jaws. Theatrical trailer, my scenes, basically just bookmark, and D-Box motion code. What is this? This disc is enabled with D-Box motion code. If you are equipped with a D-Box integrated motion system, you'll be able to experience a whole new dimension while watching this movie. If you own a D-Box motion system equipped with a Blu-ray PC drive, please insert this disc in the Blu-ray drive, blah, blah, blah. I guess it's just another way to watch the movie on your PC, which is weird. I don't know what that is. How to, we're not going to look at that. What's new, powered by Blu-ray Live. Check out the latest trailers, exclusive content, and more. Blu-ray Live is basically connecting your Blu-ray player to the internet and streaming some new content. You know, check out the latest trailers, exclusive content, and more through that. Ticker, when you see the blue icon, press the button on your remote to see more. I don't know what that's for. That might be while you watch the movie. Maybe little pop-ups about bonus features or behind-the-scenes information will pop up while you watch the film. So Jaws is jam-packed with bonus features, and I will watch a few of these before we return for the ending segment. Speaking of that, let's go ahead and transition back and answer the 5 main questions, as always. Alrighty, so we're back from the close-up. Now it's time to answer the 5 main questions, as always. Number 1, where can you pick this product up? You can still find Jaws in stores. Check your local Target for that VHS packaging version. Also, I still see copies of the standard Blu-ray at Best Buy, Walmart, and such. I picked up my copy of Jaws on Blu-ray in a store. Believe it or not, I didn't pick it up online or anything. I found it in a store, so you can still find it at pretty much any reputable retailer. Number 2, is this product still being printed nowadays? I can say yes, finally. Yes, Jaws is still being printed nowadays because of that VHS packaging version. That's still being printed. That's still being sent out to stores. Number 3, should you pick this product up? Yeah, I recommend Jaws. Why wouldn't I? This movie is borderline perfect. You watch Jaws for the characters. At least I do. And I can name them all by heart. Chief Brody, Matt Hooper, Quint, whatever the hell his last name is, I forgot it. They're all so great. They all play off of each other wonderfully. Quint, my God, Quint, one of the best movie characters ever created. The guy's cold, calculating. He knows his stuff about catching these animals. It's a shame that he dies, even though it makes sense for the story. But it's a shame that he dies. I hate watching it. Every time I watch Jaws, I always feel bad for Quint when he gets crushed by the Jaws. I'm like, Quint, why? You were so awesome. Your introduction with the nails on the chalkboard was, like, amazing. But it's not just Quint that I like in this movie. It's Chief Brody. Chief Brody, it's funny where his character ends up. He has a fear of the water, yet he's been transferred to Amity Island, a beach town. How ironic is that? The story of this is also really, really awesome. It's pretty simple when you really break it down. A shark terrorizes the beaches on Amity Island, and the guys have to catch it. I also find it interesting how Jaws is like 2 separate movies in one. The first half of the film is police drama on Amity Island. You know, he's fighting with the mayor about keeping the beaches open, and you're always in suspense. Spielberg is a master at suspense. when the shark is going to attack, especially when you're near the water. You're always waiting for the shark to attack, and sometimes it does when you think it will, other times it doesn't, and Steven Spielberg pulls back a little bit, then the shark attacks, and then you're scared by it, you know? He's a master at that. But then the second half of the movie completely changes focus, and it turns into a boat drama on the water. It turns into a precursor to Pirates of the Caribbean, except with less Johnny Depp. I'm Johnny Depp. I'm Captain Jack Sparrow. Arr, Jack. Catch Jaws, why don't ya? It's late. I'm sorry. I'm really off the wall tonight. Like I said, I'm tired and I want to go to bed. Now, I'm not saying that the second half of the film is weaker or anything. I actually prefer the second half of Jaws. I like the drama on the boat and the suspense of when the shark's gonna show up. And of course, the boat spawned one of the greatest lines in movie history. You're gonna need a bigger boat. It's a chum, huh? Why don't you come out here and chum some of this shit? And then the shark pops up behind him. I'll admit I jumped when I first saw that for the first time. So I like the second half a lot. First half, it's a little bit meandering. You know, I enjoy it for the most part. You get introductions to each of the main characters, and they're introduced very well. I'm not going to criticize that or anything. I just feel the first half's not as strong as the second half. I mean, I never felt a huge connection with the town. I felt a connection with the characters, not the town itself. I never really cared about the town, and that sounds really bad to say, but I cared about the characters in it. I didn't care about the town itself. I know everyone's going to want to know my opinion on the shark. Lego Lover, do you think the shark still looks real? Yeah, for the most part. There are a few instances where the shark looks fake to me, okay? I will admit that. It looks a little bit dated. But come on. I mean, the shark itself looks okay. When you don't see the shark, though, it works so much better. That's one of the tragedies turned great in films. If you didn't know, the shark they used in this film, the animatronic shark, hardly ever worked right. So, Steven Spielberg had to hide the shark from a lot of the shots. And you don't even get a full shot of the shark until the second half of the film when he's swimming underneath the orca. And Matt Hooper goes, "That's a 20-footer. 25. But that just makes the suspense of when is the shark going to attack even more suspenseful. It works in Steven Spielberg's favor, and I think he realizes that now, considering this is one of his best received films of all time. Also, the first summer blockbuster. You probably shouldn't mess with it. It's perfect the way it is. I also want to comment on something I don't see a lot of people talk about. At the end of the film, during the climax, when the orca is sinking after Quint has been killed, the shark attacks the boat because the shark somehow knows that there's food in the boat, meaning Brody is still there. He's swimming around in the boat, and that's when he throws the air tank into Jaws' mouth. And unfortunately, Mythbusters disproved that if you shot an air tank, it wouldn't actually blow up the shark. But you know what? F it, it's cool. And I love watching it blow up. Smile, you son of a... I mean, it's amazing. Spielberg uses sound to give the shark more life. If you don't know, sharks don't have vocal cords. They can't make noise. They can't speak or roar or anything. That's a dig at Jaws 4, The Revenge right there. Sharks can't roar, you idiots! The sounds in the boat sound like something is roaring. Sound like something is chomping. And I think Spielberg used that to his advantage to try and convey that the shark is, menacing and the shark is making noise when really it's ambient noise in the background. The shark is not making any noise, it's the background stuff that's making that noise, and it sounds like the shark is making that noise. I don't know if I made a point there or not, but it's something I've always noticed and I don't see a lot of people talk about in reviews for Jaws. The ambient noise gives the shark more menace. I guess that's my point with that. You have to watch the movie with me to really understand what I'm saying here. It's hard to convey through words. You just have to watch it. So with a pretty good first act and a really awesome second act, Jaws, by the way, doesn't follow the 3-act structure, at least in my opinion. The first act is the first half, second act is the second half. The third act, you could say, is the climax, but the climax lasts 4 minutes and then the movie's over. So, really long first act, really long second act, really, really teeny tiny third act. So I guess you could say it follows the 3-act structure there. But with a non-conventional act setup, really good story, awesome special effects with the shark and the fake blood and all that stuff. Awesome in some parts, the shark looks a little fake in others, but for the most part it looks good. Really great characters, amazing dialogue between those characters, funny dialogue, and a great feel to the movie, a 4th of July summer feel to the movie, even though it's a horror film about a shark. Damn it if Jaws is not one of my favorite films of all time. I have a good time every time I watch it, except when I'm at a beach, because then I'm scared to go in the water. So yeah, recommend Jaws. You should see it. And if you have seen it, watch it again, because it's just as good as you remember it. It might even be better. I also haven't talked about bonus features a lot on this show, and I want to do that more often now, since this is home media reviews, and I'm reviewing the home media, not just the films themselves. I have watched the featurette called Jaws the Restoration, and that talks about how they went back to the OG film stock to restore Jaws to 1080p Blu-ray quality, and not a lot of movies do that. For a lot of Blu-rays, it's an upscaling job, meaning that it's a lazy-ass attempt to make something look 1080p. With a lot of the earlier Blu-rays from like 2007, 2008, those were upscaled, okay? Those were not full restorations. Those were 480p DVDs thrown onto a Blu-ray disc, and somebody said, look, it's 1080p! When really it's been upscaled to about 720. Still doesn't look as good, but it's better than DVD, and people bought that. However, Jaws, they went back to the original film negative and stock and all that stuff and restored it from the ground up, and it looks amazing on Blu-ray. Jaws looks... We don't need a 4K of Jaws. The Blu-ray already looks as good as it's going to get. I don't know how you clean this up anymore and make it look even better. So, Jaws the Restoration, pretty good featurette. The Shark is Still Working is a pretty good featurette about the pop culture impact of Jaws. This includes the original theatrical trailer, which is cool, production photos. This is, at least the Blu-ray I have is packed with bonus features. I think all the Blu-rays come with the same bonus features, and if they don't, maybe one featurette's different. But for the most part, you get some really good bonus features on this Blu-ray. And I assume you get good stuff on the DVDs as well, like with the 30th and 25th anniversary versions and such. I'm sure you get good bonus content on those too. Number 4, where should you pick this product up? You find it in the store, pick it up there. You find the Target version, pick that up on the spot. And number 5, what price should you pay? Well, for the standard Blu-ray, that's like the version I have with just the Blu-ray and the ultraviolet copy, $5-6, not very rare. You can still find it on shelves at Best Buy and stuff like that. For any version that has like a really cool slipcover, or like the Universal 100-year anniversary slipcover, or the digibook, $20 to $30 for a lot of those. Those Blu-rays are not very common. I don't want to get prices on the DVDs or the VHSs or the laser discs or anything like that. The VHSs, I assume, probably aren't that rare. I mean, maybe the original one's pretty rare, I would say. I mean, that was released in 1980, and, you know, people pay out the wall for rare VHS tapes and stuff. But the 1995 version, I don't think would be that rare. But if you're gonna watch Jaws, you gotta watch it on Blu-ray, man. That's the version I would recommend to anybody. Watch this on Blu-ray. It is crisp, it is clear, it looks amazing. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the home media review on Jaws. This one was a little bit more off the wall and crazy than I expected it to be. It's only like 11:30 right now, but geez, I'm hyped up right now. I'm all hyped up on Mountain Dew. Disregarding the Talladega Nights reference there. Next week, we go from a bloody, violent shark movie to a happy-go-lucky Disney film with Lilo and Stitch, one of my all-time favorite animated films. Ever since I was a child, I have loved Stitch. Stitch is my boy, man. I have a Stitch plushie here that I am holding in my hands. I just pulled out of my stuffed animal bin. I'm holding him right now. He makes noise. I'm not sure if he still works. No, he doesn't work anymore. Dang it. Okay. Before next episode, I'm going to see if I can find the battery in this thing and make it work. But I have a Stitch plushie. I have multiple Stitch collectibles. I love Lilo and Stitch. Probably just love Stitch, though. Stitch is like the best guy ever. But that's next week. Lilo and Stitch. I hope you guys are excited for that. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, good night, everybody. Farewell to all you Spanish ladies. Farewell. Well did I do, all you ladies of Spain? I have no idea where my copy is from that I'm holding in my hands right now. Probably from 2016, 2017. However, and I just dropped it. Shit. That's probably not going to sound very good in the final cut, but it's going to be okay, though. Make it work. Fucking 30 minutes! I talked for 30 minutes about that.